definition here. Let me read it out. It says Western Boats and Nuts Limited makes and sells boats and nuts to individual and corporate customers. The management accountant has provided the following data for the year 2023. Production and sales 100,000 units. So they produced and sold 100,000 units. So the value. Direct material cost, direct labor cost, production overheads, the cost of sales, gross profit, and you've got your administrative expenses, your selling and distribution expenses, and you get your net profit. Okay, notes. It is assumed that the company will pay workers based on a fixed time basis, meaning hours worked regardless of output achieved. So basically our direct labor cost here is going to be regarded as a fixed cost. That's what this is saying. Number 2, the production, admin and selling and distribution costs have been analyzed and the cost behavior is shown below. Okay, so the production overheads, 25% of it is fixed, 75% is variable. Admin expenses, 100% is fixed. Selling and distribution expenses, they're fixed, 80% is fixed, 20% is variable. So, A, define contribution. Colleagues, I believe we all know the definition of contribution. Let me hear your definition before I give you my definition of contribution. Yes, Madam Wanza, what's your understanding of contribution? Or Mr. Martina, what's your understanding of contribution? Oh, Mr. Martina has been kicked off. Yes, Madam Wanza. Madam Band.
Production.
Contribution is the money left over to cover fixed costs after the variable costs have been deducted. Okay. Remember, contribution is sales minus variable costs. Okay. So that money, after you deduct your variable costs, that money, which is your contribution there, it's the money that's left over to cover the fixed costs. Okay. And after it also covers the fixed costs, you should remain with a remainder. Okay. So there should be a remainder after your fixed costs have covered. Yes. Is contribution equals sales revenue minus variable costs. Okay. If it can be on a total basis or on a per unit basis. Okay. There's also what you call your contribution per unit. Okay, it's your selling price per unit minus your variable cost per unit. Okay. Any questions? Any queries?
No questions.
All right. Next, now they want us to calculate the break-even point in units and in revenue. Okay. So remember, the break-even point in units in what's this? Yes, in units. This is the formula. Break-even point in units, BEP, equals the total fixed costs divided by your contribution per unit. Okay, so first things first, we need to get our contribution per unit. Okay, so we need to get what is our selling price per unit, SP per unit, SP per unit, this was how much we made after we sold these 100 units. So to get our selling price per unit, total sales total sales revenue divided by number of units. So this is going to be 1,375,000 divided by the total number of units, 100,000 units.
The answer is 1.375.
1.375?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so remember our contribution per unit is the selling price per unit minus our variable costs per unit. So we need to get our variable cost per unit. So the first variable cost is direct materials. Okay, so our direct materials cost per unit, this is the total it costed us for these 100,000 units. Okay, so you say direct material cost per unit, DM per unit, the DM cost, direct materials cost over let me just get some data first. Direct materials per unit, the total direct materials cost divided by the number of units. So that 300,000, that 309,500 divided by 100,000 units, what do we get?
Sorry, sir, I didn't get you.
I was saying the direct material cost per unit. This is the total direct material cost divided by the number of units produced. Alright, so 309,500 divided by 100,000. What do we get? Oh, and this is not 1.3, it's 13.75. One million 375,000 divided by 100,000, so 13.75. Yes. So 309,500 divided by 100,000, what do we get? Excuse me.
It's giving me 0.3.
Not
30.
the 100,000 is less, so it can go to the 0 points. The 300,000 is great. 309,500 divided by 100,000. It's supposed to get, let's see, these 3.905. I think 3.095, yes, per unit. Are you getting that?
Yeah, you said 30.95.
No, not 30.95. 3.095.
Let me check. I think I'm getting an error here. Yes, your answer is correct.
Then the next, okay, the production overheads. They've told us 75% of the production overheads are variable. Okay, so production overheads, let's find out the variable amount. Production overheads. Okay, so we're going to say 75% over 118,000. %5 of 118,000. Let's see, 0.75 times 180. 0.75 times 88,500. Okay. Now we want the per unit, production overheads per unit, because remember, we want the variable costs. So say divided by 100,000 units. Should get 0.885. Are you also getting 0.885?
Sorry, I was speculating for the production overhead. What's the next one? The administrative expenses.
The production overhead per unit. The variable production overhead per unit. Okay. Administrative, it's fixed. Selling and admin expenses. The variable is so variable selling and admin.
So 20%.
So 20% of the amount, 20% of
the 72,500. 14,500.
Now the per unit. This should be 0.145 kwacha per unit. Yes, that's the variable selling and admin. So we've got all the variable costs. So let's say, so we say variable cost per unit. Okay, we have direct materials. Direct materials, we said it was 3.05, 3.095. Variable production overheads, we said that was variable production overheads 0.885. Variable selling and admin 0.145. Okay, so let's get the total variable cost per unit. So 3.05 plus 0.885 plus 0.145, what do we get? In my calculator also. Kwacha per unit. Any questions before we get the contribution per unit?
No, so far so good.
Contribution per unit, selling price per unit, minus variable cost per unit. So our selling price was 13.75 minus 4.125
9.625.
9.625. Yes. So we've got our denominator. Now we need our total fixed costs. So total fixed costs. Direct labor, according to our note, it said it's a fixed cost. So direct labor 200 and 5,500. That's a direct labor plus then we've got our fixed production overheads, which is 25% of this amount, 118, our admin and our fixed selling and the distribution expenses. So let me just write them down. Direct labor plus fixed production overheads plus fixed plus admin plus admin expenses and what was the last one?
Sorry to come in, sir. Is the class being recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
Or fixed selling and distribution. Okay, plus fixed selling and distribution. Okay, so direct labor was 205,500 plus fixed production overheads. The production overheads so were 25% of 118,000 plus admin expenses 168,250 plus fixed selling and distribution 80% of 72.5. Okay, 25%. $29,500 plus 168,250 plus 80% of 72.5, 58,000. So we get our total fixed costs. So 205,500 plus 29,500 plus 168,250 plus 58,000. You get 461,250. Okay, and that's our total fixed costs. So our break-even point, BP in units, total fixed costs 461,250 divided by the contribution per unit 9.625. $461,250 divided by 9.625. We get 47,922 units. Okay, rounded off. It's 0.077, so we can just round off to this, the whole number, 47,922 units. So if they produce this amount of units, they will break even, meaning break even, you're going no profit, no loss. Okay. Any questions? So if they produce 47,922 units, that's when they'll break even. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So one way this company can try to lower this break-even point, okay, is try to increase this contribution per unit. Okay. If the contribution per unit increases, the break-even point is going to reduce. Okay. Because as a company, you don't want the break-even point to be so many units. Okay, you want them to be as less as possible so that you start making your profits early. Okay. Yes. Then next is the break even in revenue. Okay, the break even in revenue. Break even point in revenue, BP revenue. So there are two ways you can get this one. Right. Number one, you can say it's the break even point in units times the selling price per unit. So you can say with 7,922 times the selling price per unit was what? 13.75. Okay. So for 7,922 times 13.75, what do we get? But 7,922 times 13.75. Mr. Martin, are you there?
So we're getting 658.93.
658,000 920, not 926, because I'm getting 927.5. So we can, 927.5. That's 922 times 13.75. 658,927.5. The other way you can, so this is the amount of money that is breaking even for this company. When they make this amount of money in terms of revenue, it's going to cover all their costs and they'll remain with zero. All right, this is the break even in revenue. The other way you can, oh, before I go to the other way, any questions?
No, no. So with that amount of money, they can only cover their cost. They can't their cost, including the salaries and everything, but they can't benefit from.
There's no, yes, there's no profit. There's no profit, no loss. It's just that
They're just able to settle their bills.
not when settle any bills. Everything is covered and you remain with zero.
Oh.
There is nothing remaining. Okay. The other way you can get this break even, okay, I'll just explain a bit on it, but due to time, in your spare time, you can calculate using this other method. It's your fixed costs divided by your contribution margin ratio. Okay, this contribution margin ratio, CMR, how you get it? Contribution margin ratio, it's your contribution per unit divided by your selling price per unit. Okay, that's how you get the contribution margin ratio. And what it just tells us is for every 1 kwacha we make in sales, how many ngwe is being contributed to cover fixed costs. Okay, so for example, if you have a contribution margin ratio of 0.5, okay, it means for every 1 kwacha I make in sales, 50 ngwe is being contributed to cover our fixed costs. Okay. Contributed to cover fixed costs. Okay. So that's the other way you can calculate the break-even point in revenue. Okay, but as I said, the easiest one is this one. You just get the selling price per unit times the break-even point in units. Okay, unless it tells you otherwise. Any questions before we go to the, let's see, the margin of safety in units and in revenue? Okay, so now margin of safety, this is the room for error before you make a loss. All right, that's what the margin of safety is, the room for error before you make a loss. Okay, so think of this as the safety cushion before you reach your break-even point and start making a loss. Okay, so margin of safety in units, MOS in units, actual sales in units, minus your break-even point in units. So sales in units 100,000. Minus our break-even in units was 47,922. So 100,000 minus 47,922.
95,208.
It's 52,078. Hundred thousand minus 47,922.
Oh, I left out a 2.
Okay. So basically, think of this as a number line. This is 47,922. Any point below this is a loss. Okay, this is your break-even point here, BEP. This is your break-even point, and then these are your 100,000 units. Okay, so if you mess up on these 52,078 units, this is your margin of safety here, your room for error before you touch your break-even point, and below your break-even point you're going to start making a loss. All right, so this is your room for error, these 52,078 units. Anything, if you go above these 52,078 units, you're going to be in a loss. All right, so that is your room for error there.
If you go above the 52 or if you go less?
No, let's say for example, if you mess up with 53,000 units, 100,000 minus 53,000, you'll be in 47,000 units here. And if you produce 47,000 units, you'll be in a loss. Yes, if you go above this margin of safety, you're going to make a loss. Then the margin of safety in revenue, MOS revenue, it's your actual sales revenue, minus your break-even point in revenue. The actual revenue that we made was $1,375,000 minus the break-even point in revenue was what? 658,927.5. So 1,375,000 minus 658,000. $716,000. 72.5 kwacha. Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So sales can drop by this amount before, or sales shouldn't drop beyond it. So the better way to interpret this is the sales shouldn't drop beyond this amount because you'll be in a loss. Okay. Sales shouldn't drop by more than this amount because we'll be in a loss. Okay. If sales drop by this amount, this exact amount, we've broken even. Okay. But if the sales drop beyond this amount, we're in a loss. Even with the units, the number of units shouldn't drop more than this amount, otherwise we'll be in a loss. And the margin of safety, you can also get it as a percentage in case you asked about it. Margin of safety in percentage format. It's not part of the question, but just in case you asked. So it's your margin of safety in units divided by actual sales times 100%. So margin of safety in units, 52,078. Actual sales in units, 100,000. So 52,078 divided by 100,000. $52,078 divided by 100,000. 0.52. So basically your units shouldn't drop by 52%. Number of units should not drop by 52%. Okay. Yes. Then the final part, the last part of this question. Calculate the number of units a company must sell to make a profit of 750,000 and comment on whether you think this target is achievable. So you say units for target profit total fixed costs plus target profit divided by the contribution per unit. The total fixed costs 461,250 plus 750,000 plus 750,000 divided by the contribution per unit. The contribution per unit 9.625. So 461,250 plus 750,000. 461,250 plus 750,000, 1,211,000 211,250 divided by 9.625. So basically I've produced 125,844 units. Okay. So is this target achievable? Yes, it is achievable. Why? Because have you seen this company produced about 100,000 units. So an extra how many is this? An extra 26,000 units I think is achievable. Okay, unless maybe if we saw, maybe let's say it was 300,000, 500,000, then you look at your production capacity and see, can we just bump from 100 to 300,000? There it's okay, but I believe an extra 26,000 units, this target is achievable. Any questions?